you don't want people coming in and not understanding what's required, and they don't come in with the right mindset and they take the brand in a negative direction, right? You don't want that, and you don't want the people to come in, spend their hard-earned money, and go in reverse as far as the finances go, right?
Representing Franchise Secrets, Eric Von Horn.
Larkin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for having me.
You're a podcast expert, right?
No, not really. Not at all, actually.
What do you mean?
This is my first podcast. I've never done a podcast in my life, but happy to give it a shot.
That's the best, man. I love it. I love it when I get somebody that has not been on the podcast circuit that regurgitates, talking points and, and pitching stuff. And so like, I thought you'd been on more. The fact that you haven't been on any is awesome. So this is going to be a great one.
Okay.
So you own Canine Resorts, which most of the time when I have franchisees, franchisors on, they're brands that I have equity in or I'm helping out in some way. I have nothing to do with canine. So I just like for the audience to know that. And you have everything like that you've been in it for, would you say, 6 years almost as a franchisee?
Almost 6 years.
You're one of their top franchisees. And before that, before you got into franchising, what were you doing?
Before that, directly, right before getting into Canine Resorts, I was working as a registered nurse for a few years. And prior to that, I was a police officer for about close to 25 years.
25 years is a long time to be a police officer. Where were you working?
In New Jersey. I was in a town called Hillside initially, and then Scotts Plains after that. And then I retired from there and went into nursing, and then from nursing to Canine Resorts.
What's something that the audience should be aware of when it comes to the police? In other words, like, how do you get out of a ticket? How do you, what's something that like the average public doesn't know about police officers?
So I would say this, and that's a good question and a funny question at that. It depends on where you are. And this is what I've come to realize when you live in certain areas. The cops are just different based on where you live. Like the South, living in the South versus living in the North. It's different. It's like North is a little more relaxed, I guess, a little lenient. But at the same time, being a police officer is much tougher today than it was years ago because of, the stigmas and, and the view of it all. You almost can do 100 things right, do one thing wrong, and then you're a bad cop, right? And that's, depending on the egregiousness of what you're doing, may or may not be the case, right? One thing caught on camera that's wrong, gives us, shines a bad light. It's no one's perfect in any profession, right? A plumber comes to your house, he screws up, right? Now you got a leak, right? And so he comes back, he fixes it, right? So you just had some water on your floor, right? No big deal, maybe. But if you as an officer who has the power to take life and all of those things that are extremely serious, if you make a mistake, it could be detrimental, right? And so there's different levels of mistake, right? And that's just the nature of it. And
Pressure.
So it's tough, right? It's tough. It's just a very tough profession. But I enjoyed it. I loved every day of work. It was a great, great profession. I have a lot of respect for officers. I think because I know the job is tough, but the job has to be done a certain way, right? And you just have to perform a certain way, right? You have to know you're at the highest standard, right? And just go about it that way. But now let's get back to your question.
Yeah.
Because this is good stuff. So if
you didn't think we were going to go here, did you?
No, because this is a good question. If you get pulled over, it depends on what you have done as to do you have a shot, right? If you're doing 100 and a 50, you probably don't have a shot, and I don't care what you say, right? Unless you have your wife's in the back and she you can take her to the hospital to have a baby or something. You're gonna get out of that ticket, right? I don't think any cop is gonna write a ticket for that. But if you're doing a few miles over the limit and you just be honest and say, whatever the case may be. To me, if you just honest and just tell the truth, right? Whatever, are you speeding for a reason? Tell a cop what the reason is. Don't just sit there, right? Give the reason. And maybe he cares, maybe he doesn't, maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. He or she. It That's to me is what you just be honest. And I think you usually have a shot if you're honest about what you're doing, if there's a good reason for what you're doing, right? Because sometimes there's a good reason. People do things. Yeah, I'm speeding, but I just got a phone call, and my mother's not doing well. She's at the hospital, and I'm going to see her. I'm not really writing that ticket. You know, I'm just not, right? Because and they, and they're showing you proof, and I just got the call, and you can typically tell when someone is telling you the truth or not, and you weigh it, right? Because you want to be a decent person too, right? I mean, we have a job to do, but at the same time, you want to be a decent person, and so you weigh it, So my advice is to just be honest, right, and just tell the officer, he or she, the truth, and hope they take it in consideration. That's right. That's my best advice.
That's some good advice. I can as you were talking, I'm like, I can just see so many parallels to business and the pressure and the stress of being an officer, having to get it right all the time.
All the time.
You get it wrong, there's the consequences there are the stakes are higher. And
Yes.
then just reading people, even the way that you answered that question, it depends. You have to, you're looking at a lot of different things from a lot of different angles before you're, like you're giving your answer, making a decision. I can tell that you probably ask a lot of questions and you're thinking through things. So what are some of the things that as a police officer have helped you in business today?
Well, I would say this business is very is pretty much centered around customer service, right? The brand of Canine Resorts has a high focus on customer service, um, and so in being a police officer and nursing, there both jobs were customer service based jobs, right? Client care and customer service, and delivering service and protecting and serving, what have you. And you know, I don't know if it makes you a people person. I've always been personally a people person, and so in doing these jobs, you know, you're learning customer service, and you're performing customer service, and you're either gonna be good at it or bad at it. And I think I was good at it, because I'm a people person, and you're just trying to do the right thing and deliver a service, and keep people safe and all this good stuff. And so it translated into canine results because your clients come in and you can just talk, right? And you could just say, "Hey, how's your day? Have a good day. Good morning, right? And is everything all right, right?" You can sort of read people, right? Because your job as an officer is to read people to some degree. And people come in and they're always smiling, they're laughing, but today they're not. "Hey, you okay? Everything all right? Anything I can do for you?" And so that translates into the customer service aspect. And so that's my opinion of how one helped the other.
Tell us a bit about canine resorts for those that, they probably think, yeah, it's a boarding business. So can you explain a little bit about canine resorts?
Canine resorts, we do boarding. We also do daycare. Our motto is uh, dog safety, high levels of customer service. We want to deliver a 5-star experience for the pet and the client, the people client, and the dog client. And so, our facilities are state of the art, in terms of the appearance. We go above and beyond, and the materials that we use. The HVAC is top notch. It's the best HVAC you can use in as far as fresh air changes. We have pet therapy systems, the disinfect and clean the air, microband flooring. So we go above and beyond in what we do to make the environment safe for the pets. And then our disinfecting practices are second to none. Uh, all of these things, come together to to be the best, and we try to be the best, and I think we do a pretty good job at it.
Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are two really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is if you're a franchisee and you want to be around a community of successful Z's and other brands and in other industries, this is why I created the Franchisee Mastermind. If you want access to the best single and multi-unit owners to know what they're doing, or if you want to be around other multi-brand owners, then you'll want to check out my Franchisee Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections, to each other. They want a shortcut success, both short-term and long-term. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com. Are you a dog person?
I am a dog person.
What kind of dog do you have? Or
My
dogs?
dog he's like a pit lab mix.
What
Yeah,
is a
maybe.
pit lab? Like, what kind of personality does a pit lab have?
He's pretty fat and lazy, to be quite honest with you. He's good with he's good around people. Gets a little funny with like on a leash. Like
Yeah,
it's like that's like a thing. Like dogs get weird on leashes. I think they're trying to protect the owner, maybe.
yeah.
But ultra fun. Uh, in daycare, he runs around, goofy, right? He plays good. Good dog. I mean, he's a rescue. And so I don't really know what he is because he's a rescue. And I don't really know how old he is. I want to say 7-ish. But a very, very good dog. Good around people. You ring the bell, he barks. I mean, what else you want from him, right? He's good.
Did that play into the decision to get into the pet boarding and daycare business? Like your love for dogs?
No. I tell you what played into the decision. So, when the tail end of my police career, I was PBA president, and so the owners, the CEOs of Canine Resorts, they're very generous. They donate to the community and things like that. And so I got to meet them in that relationship, and we sort of became friends. Um, and because they have a high, um, they donate to the town. They have a high presence in the town, and so in being friends with them, I would, every now and then be at the facility, the original facility in New Jersey, and I would just sort of just watch how they went about what they did. And I'm like, man, these guys are something else, right? Like like you admire how they went about their jobs. Like they researched everything, right, to no end, right, to have the best HVAC, the best flooring. Like it's like the way they went about the job with so much passion and excellence. And I'm like, man, this is some outfit. And then you watch like the customer service when people would come in the door, and it just was a top notch thing to see. And it was like, and now you admiring this stuff from almost from afar, right? You kind of like watching it, and I'm like, I can see myself doing this. And so when I retired, I said, hey, listen, I like this concept. I like what you guys do. I like who we are, who you are. Is it possible? And they said, yes, absolutely possible. And so I just went down that road, but it was from just watching the operation from afar, sort of. I just had a lot of respect for how they did what they did.
I love it when I hear people that get into business for the types of reasons that you just described versus I love pets, so I bought a pet business. I love donuts and baking, so I bought a bakery. I love McDonald's cheeseburgers, so I bought a McDonald's. Like all that stuff, that's the if that's the driving, the main thing. The they don't usually do as well as franchisees that enjoy the business side of things.
I
That
enjoy it.
like it's the quality, it's probably the type of person that you work with and whatnot. So there's a lot of other reasons. Like you excel with customer service, and this is a customer service business.
Yes.
I would say, as you've looked at franchisees in your own system or maybe other systems that were maybe competitors of yours, or maybe in your own that were franchisees that got into it for the love of animals. Do you think they do as well? Or and maybe they do. I don't know. Like I just that's just a real genuine question if you have some experience on the inside. And Larkin, the frame of that is in the tax business that I originally was in franchising 20 years ago, accountants, CPAs, insurance people got into the tax business because they loved sitting behind the desk just like cranking out tax returns. I was a marketer. I never did a tax return. Um, and the people that were the best in that business were not the CPAs, the accountants, the bookkeepers, the insurance agents. They were either operationally minded or marketing minded like myself. So in your business, what have you seen?
What I see is one is you have to believe in the brand, right? Because the brand is going to train you to do things a certain way. They're going to train you to clean in this fashion, customer service in this fashion. All these things are to be done a certain way. And if you believe in the brand and you believe in what you're doing in the product, right, then you're going to follow those rules to the T. In doing so, it gives you, in my opinion, more chance of success than failure because it's a proven brand with a proven track record of success. And so but you have to follow all of the steps that they lay out. And so to me, you have to just believe in the company you're joining, right? And not that you can't succeed if you just say, hey, I like this model and I want to make money. Maybe you'll succeed. But I think your chances are much higher if you believe in the brand, you do your homework. I used to go to like my last 2 years before I decided to do canine, because I just wanted to like do all of my due diligence. I would go to the franchise expo in New York. I think it was at the Jacob Javits Center, and I would go. In the last 2 years, I went, and I just didn't see anything that, and all of the competitors would be in different franchises, and I'm looking at this franchise and that franchise, and it just, I went with what I knew. Like I knew these guys did everything the best they could. I knew they wanted excellence. I knew they wanted to be the best. Wasn't sure about the other ones, and so I went with what I knew, um, and I believed in what I saw, right? Because I saw it, and I saw it on a, almost on a weekly basis, and so I follow the teachings of the company because I saw it work.
I have a session coming up in the mastermind that I have for franchisees, and my friend Ryan Casey's leading the session, and it's all about how to create a kind of mini mastermind, a best practices group among top performing franchisees in your current franchise system. And I have some other folks that are in the mastermind that do the same thing. One of the top budget blinds franchisee does the same thing. And so I have these people that are sharing in my mastermind on really how to do that for franchisees to create that themselves. Do you have something like that, formal or informal, with other people in canine resorts that are, in a little group that you have that kind of best practices or help each other out?
We do. We speak like if I have a question, hey, uh, the past few weeks of, we got quite a few clients that's checking in early, say. It's like, we have like a group network, and we have liaisons that speak on our behalf, and they, if we have any concerns, they approach corporate with these concerns, and we'll put it out in that fashion, or we'll just send out like a group message, say, hey, anyone having the same issue? And if so, people typically just try to chime in with, hey, yeah, we've had that issue. And if it's a thing, like it's just something that we all need to address, then we just, go to the liaison, and then bring it to corporate. And so we just share information, and see if something needs to be addressed or not, or if it's just a one off, right? Because sometimes things just kind of go in the flow of a one off, sort of like a five off. Like you may have it, over the course of 2 weeks, and then then it doesn't happen again. And so you just kind of like, you don't knee jerk. You just kind of keep your eye on it. If it's something not so serious, but we do share information, because I think sharing information, communication is always a great thing, to make other people aware. Awareness helps, and definitely in business for sure.
So I think what you're describing is like a franchise advisory council,
Yes,
something like that,
that's exactly what
which
we
is
have.
really helpful for franchisees to have that voice with the franchisor, and a voice of all the franchisees can participate in that. What I'm thinking and describing is something that is you and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 other people have your own little group, and where maybe once a year go visit each other's location, or you guys are on a monthly call, just you, or maybe a text thread with just you and them. So most people that don't have something like this, Larkin, but that's why I'm hosting this session in the mastermind. Most of the time people are just informal. Like you have 2 or 3 main people that you reach out to, but nothing formal. So I was just curious if you had something formal like that with a couple of the top performing franchisees there, or if it's kind of just informal where you have each other's cell phone numbers and emails and you just share things back and forth randomly.
No, I typically do things more on the formal. Like if I have issues, I'll go to my regional manager, and then they'll go
Yeah,
to corporate. I do it in that fashion. And
sure.
you know, thank God I don't typically have too many issues that I need to present. But when I do, I'll go to my regional person, and they'll
Perfect.
go to corporate, and we'll do it in that way, because I know they know, and so I
Yeah.
just go right to the person that I know knows.
Describe your life today as a franchisee. You're 6 years into it, 6-ish years into it. Like, how many hours a week do you work?
More than I have to, I would probably say.
I was gonna
But
say, like, how
yeah,
many do you
I
actually work
yeah,
and how much do
if
you
if I
need to
had to
work?
put a hour, let me see. I probably work about 40, 50 hours a week. Uh, and that's more than I have to, I would say, being honest. The staff is good. I mean, they know what they're doing. I trust them. But I just like being here. I like seeing the clients. I like seeing the dogs. I mean, the dogs come in, and, they come, some come running to my office, jump on me. Some, want treats, right? I got, some dogs, they leave, they come out of the door, they go right to my office, and they want treats, right? It's like a routine. And I don't want to miss this stuff. And so I'm here. I enjoy this stuff. It's fun.
If you took a 2-week vacation trip somewhere, what would happen to the business?
It'll run smooth. I don't think that they would skip a beat. I don't. I think the managers, and the staff is very good. I don't think we would skip a beat. I would, not worry, because I know if there was an issue, they would call me. Like they communicate well, and so if there was an issue, they would call me. So I wouldn't have any concerns if I took a 2 week vacation. I've never taken a 2 week vacation. Yeah, Eric, I probably need to take a 2 week vacation, to
Yeah,
be
it's a
quite
good
honest with you.
test.
I don't think I've ever taken more than like a 5 day vacation. I
All
think
right.
5 or 6 days I took one time, and I was fine with it. I slept good. I didn't
That's
worry.
good.
I wasn't like looking at the phone waiting for it to ring. I was good.
That's good. You should take a 2-week vacation somewhere and see how it does. I'm guessing you're probably right, and then your team will probably be really thrilled with with how they can do it, and then, uh, you'll see what might be broken in case something
Yeah. Yeah.
does break, because 'cause there'll be things that break because that's just normal. I guess maybe that's what I would think. Something will break, not devastating. There's all kinds of things that break, and then you just shore them up. But it's always a good test. I've always liked to do that, and
Yeah.
even when
Yeah.
we go away, sometimes I'll be like, went to Costa Rica for about 3 weeks a couple of
3
years ago
weeks.
with the family,
Really? Wow.
and I'm like, I'm really not doing a whole lot of work at that time, and I'm like, I told my second in command, "If you need something, text me, but I'm not checking emails except, like, in the morning at night, and if there's something, like, is broken that's a fire, if the police are being called or someone
Yeah.
needs
Let's
a nurse in the hospital, like, call me, and I'll be there." But, there's a few things that broke and whatnot, but it was great. So, you don't have to go to Costa Rica for 3 weeks,
I
but
I I I've been to Costa Rica.
it's awesome. I love Costa
I
Rica.
I I did as well. I was, Jaco Beach, I think I was.
Yep.
And, we did a lot of fishing. I like to fish, but I
So
don't
do I.
wanna touch the worm, you know what I mean? Like, I'm funny about touching
You
the
weren't
worm.
fishing with worms there, were you? And they
You
weren't.
know what? I don't know what they would I think whatever
Have you
we
been
were
to
using,
Alaska?
I didn't touch it. I'm funny about touching that little slimy stuff. So I didn't, but that was on the charter. They do everything for you, right? They
That's
take you
great.
out, they know where to go, and, I like doing charter fishing,
Have you been
I
to
don't
Alaska?
I have not, but I heard it's a great trip.
And then you don't really have a whole lot of access to cell phones and what there. I mean, you
And
do, but not
that's
as
where I need to
much as.
go.
Yeah,
That's
go
where I
to
need to go.
Alaska, hit me up. I go there. I've been there a decent amount. It's
Really?
just a
Okay.
blast. It's a blast. So hit me up when you go there this next
I
summer.
will, I will. Thank you for telling me that.
All right. So going back to your first year in business, how many
Oh
hours a
god.
week were you working then?
Oh, so I'll probably s my first year, I didn't take a day off. I was, first one in the door, last one out the door, uh, the entire year. Didn't not a day off. Didn't even think about taking a day off. We opened, April of 2019. We were the first, franchise out of market. So, the other franchises were Jersey, Pennsylvania, and then we were the first to go to, out of market, which in North Carolina, right? So no one in North Carolina knows Canine Resorts, never heard of Canine Resorts. Now we have to do branding and we got to, get a relationship with our local vets and try to, be a stronghold in the community. And so we trying to come alive in North Carolina. I think we picked a great town. I love this city. Apex is a great city. You know, beautiful city. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. People are great. Just everything is this. It's beautiful. It's cold now. Today is very cold, which is unusual here. I'm not happy about that. But other than that, it's great. So we get to, I think it was February of 20 when we had COVID, right?
Mhm. I think
And
so.
so we just, right, everybody's starting to figure out, oh, can I resource, can I resource, can I resource? And then COVID hits. And that was a year and a half of, panic and, COVID was a mess, right? And so now 2.5 years in, and now people are starting to come back into, going away and socializing and what have you. So it was a rough first 2-ish years. Where I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna make it, and more so because of COVID than everything else. But we just steadied the course, took advantage of whatever programs were out there, kept limited staff. This is what we needed to, keep, dogs safe and service the client. And we fought through it. But we just, you know, stayed on task. We kept marketing. We didn't like take our foot off the pedal. We just stayed the course, and it all worked out. But it was a rough go for the first year or two.
So, did you have like a main person helping you that first year? That was kind of your second in command, or were you just doing kind of so many things yourself and you just had a team, but you were the team lead and you had a bunch of people that reported to you?
So yeah, I was probably the team lead. You know, we hired a very good manager towards the tail end of that COVID circumstance. And she's great. But I was answering phones, Eric. I was then in the back with a sponge. I didn't have a mop. 15 minutes later, then I had a broom. Like I was all over the place for that 2 year stretch. I mean, like I just was doing every job there was to do. Um, just to fill the gaps in the voids and and to keep staffing just at what we needed to meet our dog staff ratios and be compliant with that, and at the same time keep the payroll low under the circumstances because COVID, not many people were traveling. I mean, almost nobody was traveling. They were, we still had some clients that still had to travel for work. We still had some nurses, we had some, police officers and people who were essential personnel that had to go to work. So we, thank God we had that. And so it kept us afloat. But it was tough, Eric. I mean, it was really tough. So I was just kind of like the guy that was just kind of like a multi-purpose person. I was here, there, and just did what it took to get us through.
So you were doing every job, um, for 2 years, is like day and night. Was there a day at some point in your 6 years doing this, if I was to catch you and say, Larkin, if you were to do this all over again, would you? And would the answer been no any of
No,
those days?
no,
You'd
no.
always say, yeah, you'd do it again
I would do it again. I would do it
every day.
again. Yep. I can't say that there was a day that I would say. Now I was a little nervous as far as can I keep the door open with the COVID circumstance and the revenue at a certain point. But it was more from a can we make it financially, not I think this was the wrong thing to do. I mean, COVID, rocked the world, right? That was just a unprecedented circumstance. Uh Take that out, no. Not a point in time where I say, you know what, I shouldn't have done this or I wish I didn't do this. No.
I think it's what's interesting if you take those two snapshots in time, 12 months into it, 6 years into it, like if I was to validate as a buyer looking at talking to a franchisee of any system, and you are in that startup phase of that first year, first 2 years, they would scare a lot of people away because people buy because they want the lifestyle, the dream. They want to be able to leave on vacation like you could, and you said the business wouldn't miss a beat, and I believe that. But in that first year, if you were to leave, before grand opening, after grand opening, like the business probably wouldn't have survived or have been a lot. It probably would have survived, but it would just been like things would have broken and things would have been hard to fix and it would have taken a lot more work. And I think that scares people off. I think it's really important when people are thinking about buying a franchise and when they're talking to Larkin at that first 2 years of that phase in his startup, he's working like crazy. And it's good to know that. Like if that's what it takes in the brand that you're buying, you want to know that. And then ask him that question. Would you do it all over again? And like he said, he would have said yes. Like it's better doing that than because he's building something. I'm sure there was a runway that he could see of what life looks like, 5 years later and where he is today. I also think if you're validating out there with franchisees and you're talking to someone like Larkin 6 years into it, and he's like, this is amazing. I can leave. I can do whatever I want. But you never get to the point where you find out the hard. And he went through the hard before he gets to be at the place where life is very enjoyable. And he goes in because he wants to, not because he has to. And I think, too many buyers are they hear what they want to hear, and they hear negatives, and they're like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. So they want to hear those negatives because they really don't have what it takes to be a business owner, but they don't want to really admit that. And so they say, oh, this is harder than what the salesperson's telling me. So I'm out. Or you got somebody that's too pie in the sky and they just see the dream and they don't want to see the heart. And they talk to somebody 6 years into it, and you are living the dream for a lot of people. And they just want to hear that and they don't realize the first part.
The first
So I
part,
just think
yeah.
it's really important as a buyer to know who you're validating with and go into that conversation like this. Understand the hard, understand the benefits, and how they're reaping the rewards of the labor that they put in early on.
Oh, yeah.
So just wanted to share that with buyers out there.
No,
Anything that
man.
you would say to a buyer of any franchise, anything that you would recommend that they do or don't do?
I think, so I'll say this. So this is one thing that Canine Resorts now does. They didn't do it when 6 years ago, they didn't do it. But this is what they do, and I think it's a very good thing. Um, and I don't know if other franchises do it. So what they do is they do like, uh, you're a person of interest, and you're thinking about buying into
Hey,
the
we're not.
franchise.
This is not like Cops. This is not a Cops TV show. Person of interest. Where are we going with this?
So, meaning you're interested in going into the franchise of Canine Resort, say, right? So you have interest. You're thinking about it. So what they do is they do calls with current franchise owners. They do these calls like, and we take turns. Like they'll ask, are you available on so and so a day? And then you'll call into a number, and then you have prospective buyers calling into this number, and they just throw questions at you. Hey, I'm thinking about this. The build out calls. How much this and how much that? And you answer the questions, and they hear it from someone who, like you said, has done it right, been through the good and the bad, the hard work of it all. And I'm honest with the people. I tell them, hey, listen, this is what it is. Are you prepared to work X amount of hours? Do you have a strong manager that you have already? Like, this is what it's going to require. And I tell them, sometimes you hear a pause. They like, you're like, hello? But hey, listen, you have to be honest because it was, for me, an experience. And so you want to pass that information. You want people to know what you're getting into because A, you know, you don't want people coming in and not understanding what's required, and they don't come in with the right mindset, and they take the brand in a negative direction, right? You don't want that, and you don't want the people to come in, spend their, hard-earned money and go in reverse as far as the finances go, right? You want people to just know. And so there's so many different pieces as to why these calls make a lot of sense. And I'm happy that they did that, because it helps the brand and it helps the person who's wanting to maybe buy in to know what you're getting into, to your point.
Yeah, and I love it, and I think it's good when franchisees like yourself feel comfortable talking about the real stuff. And I think throughout the franchise development process, the more hard that you hear, the more open and honest that franchisor is being with you. And they're doing it because they want the right franchisees in there, not people that have a dream and they don't want to put in the work. Like it's a very accurate picture of what it takes to be a successful franchisee. Larkin, it's been fun. Let me know when you go fishing in Alaska. I might meet you out there and we'll catch some salmon
Eric, if I
together.
go to Alaska, you be the first to know it.
I
You
love
be
it.
the first to know it.
I appreciate you.
I enjoyed it. My first podcast, and you made it so easy. You're great at what you do. Thank you so much.
You rocked it. See ya.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.